Aloha, welcome to Jordan's Journal. I'm Representative Joe Jordan. And today I have my guest Suzanne Marinelli, and she's with our public access room here at the Capitol. So, hello Suzanne.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you give a little bit of background about what the public access room is, maybe a little bit of history of it? What do you do there?
I can talk forever, so be careful.
That's fine.
Thanks for inviting me. That's really sweet. The public access room at the state capitol, we're in room 401 here in the building, and it to this day is the nation's only full-time nonpartisan public resource where the citizens of the state can come and get help on how the legislative process works, get their questions about legislation or legislators answered. And we're all process, no policy at all. And we have been in existence since 1990, and still, oddly enough, the only resource of its kind in the nation.
Wow. Now, are you here all year round or just during session?
We're a year-round office, and so during the interns between legislative sessions, we're 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Beginning next week when the session begins, we will go to 8 to 7, Monday through Friday. And then we do go out into the community when we need to and teach workshops in various places all across the state, actually.
Wow. So you will. I mean, you'll go out to any of the outer islands?
We do. In fact, we just, in November and December, we completed our Neighbor Island outreach the week before Christmas. And we, this year, went to 20 different locations.
Wow.
And we just go into communities wherever there's a need, wherever people want us to be, and we teach this is how the process works, this is how the legislature's website works, and this is how you can be more effectively involved yourself in your own governance.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
I mean, I think that's how I met you.
Yeah,
Before
in fact,
I even got here.
Yes.
You had come out to our Waianae Coast community doing one of these briefings in the community on how people can become more engaged in the legislative process, right?
That's exactly right. And I think that there was a traffic accident and it took forever to get there.
Yes.
You know this
We're
one
way
well,
on
right?
the west
Yes,
side.
yeah,
That's correct.
yeah.
But I mean, you do a lot of public outreach to have more public participation in the legislative process here in the building, right?
We do. And actually, you know, we have in the legislature, there's a long-standing now email testimony program.
Okay.
And that was actually created through our office, the public access room.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's still the only, if we're still the only state in the nation that has this resource, but that's crucial for an island state or for people who are on the west side and can't come to town. You know, people work, you know. And so the fact that we have this email testimony program, I'm really proud of that for the citizens of the state, because we can all have more effective involvement. It's not just involvement, but effective involvement. And
So
that's what we help people have.
Yeah, most people think that I have to come down, I have to attend the hearing in order to get my voice heard. And that's kind of not what you're saying, right?
That's correct. You know, it's always, if you and I meet and spend time with one another directly, that's certainly powerful. And when people can come to a hearing and speak in person in the hearing room, that's definitely got an advantage. But there's no capacity for all of us to do that, and all of us cannot.
Correct.
And so from the far reaches, or whether you're homebound or just can't get to the Capitol, then Hawaii has made a way for you to be an involved participant.
So they can actually email, and that email will go directly to the hearing, wherever that measure may be being heard, right?
Right, and we have, people can always call our office, and we can help them know the right way to submit that testimony. And, you know, you could hand deliver it or fax it or email. And the legislature's website has a resource now where you can just go directly from a bill's status sheet or its history page and testify directly from that, from the comfort of your living room.
So like if I'm somebody and I say, well, I know there's a measure out there, I don't really know what bill number it is, this is kind of what it's talking about, or this is the title, or this is the person who introduced it, we can call your
Call our
office.
and we can help people find, you need a bill number, so we
Okay.
can teach people how to find the bill number, and we
Okay.
can help them do that. And then here is the version of the bill that's currently under consideration. It might not be the original one because the bill might have been changed
Okay.
already, and so we can help people understand the distinctions between an earlier version of the bill or the current one.
Mhm.
And here's when you have to have your testimony in. Here's a good outline for what your testimony needs to say. Short and simple is always best. You know
Oh, yeah.
how busy legislators are, so I always emphasize to people that the shorter and more contained your testimony is, the more effective it will be, and
Correct.
the more carefully it will be read.
Yes.
I say think of it as poetry rather than prose. Keep it small.
Yeah, true. I mean,
Yeah.
when you get a 3 or 4 page, testimony, you're gonna like, oh my, it's gonna take a little bit of time if you have like 1,000 of those to go through. Versus
Right.
what you're saying is shorter, sweeter,
Right.
right to the point.
And it's real simple too. It's like, this is the purpose of this measure. So up front, I support,
Okay.
I oppose this legislation, or I really like parts 1 and 3, and I think you should replace part 2 with something else. And so constructive input
Wow.
is what, as you know, how
Yeah.
important that is for legislators
correct.
to get.
Yeah. So what about some of those people that aren't technical savvy right now, and they're kind of like, well, if I email it to you, is the legislator going to read it, or is the committee going to see it? I mean,
Well, we used to take all of the testimony into our office, our
Okay.
tiny little office with
Wow.
our tiny little staff, but now that's been taken over by the Senate and the House committees. And so they handle that because it was, there's so much testimony now that it's not possible for our tiny little office to do that. But we can help people know where to get that information to and get it to them in a timely fashion. And so we're kind of, how do you say it? We're the conduit to help people get to where they need to be. So that we are all authorities in our own lives. And what I always want people to think about is you're the authority in your life. What is it that you perceive to be the better solution? And so
yeah.
there's a lot of
So
power
you're
in
just
that.
providing the conduits on how they can get
Right,
to where they want to be.
right.
So now if they say, well, I also want to call my legislator, as well as email them, or call the committee members, or call the chair, do you help them find how to get access to those
Sure.
individuals?
And we have the names of the committee clerks and the office managers. We have the phone numbers, the email addresses. Yeah, we have it all.
So then you can actually help provide them to either find it online, or you
Right.
can say, here's the actual committee clerk
Right.
of this particular, committee that your measure is going to be heard in, and you can speak directly to them.
Right, and we try to get people to know maybe your own legislator is a good place to start. Let your own people know what their constituents think. You want to know what the folks in your district
yeah.
are thinking. So it's important for folks to share that information with their own legislators as well. People have both topical interest at the legislature. You sit on various committees, but they also have that geographic location information, which is really important too. So, and one of the things I like for people to think about is, does your own legislator sit on the committee that this measure is relevant to? If so, you've got 2 different ways that they really want to hear from you.
Yeah, so then you can you can talk directly to your representative or your senator, and put your testimony in there, or your personal thoughts there, as well as the committee that it's being heard in, right?
And that's correct. There are real specifics about testimony. I could call my legislator's office or send an email to a legislator about something, but testimony is kind of a more specific thing, and there are those parameters on a hearing notice. And what we do often when people will call, we'll say, are you at a computer? And if so, let's walk you through it. It's one thing to just give you information, but that thing about fishing or teaching someone to fish. We would rather people know how to fish.
So if I do get confused, I can call your office and you can
Absolutely.
say, are you currently at your computer? And I can walk you through the legislative website
Mm-hmm.
to help you find the measure, how to submit your testimony, or find
Yes.
out where the status of your measure is, because it might not be in a hearing, right?
That's exactly true.
Or how do you get it heard by maybe talking to.
What are the strategies?
That's right.
How do you sweet talk the committee chair into putting your item on an agenda? It's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah, that is important. And I know sometimes that helps the average citizen out there that might have been through that process before, yeah. And some people really have that fear of coming in public and testifying, and it might be overwhelming if it's a large, hearing, or just, it's easier sometimes to start by putting in.
And it's
email.
especially if you haven't done public speaking,
Yeah.
or if you're not used to exercising the power that is yours. It can be a really intimidating thing to come to a hearing and to testify in front of important legislators. And you all are important, but so's the person testifying.
That's right.
And what I like for people to think about is this: tell them a story about your bill. This is a wonderful bill. Make your testimony engaging and interesting. It doesn't have to be and shouldn't be stiff and formal. You want something that the legislators are interested in hearing. And so
Yeah.
tell them a story.
As me, when I look at testimony or people submitting their information, I always kind of want to make sure it has their name. It might have, where their address, or maybe even a contact number if I want to call back and ask them. And I like what you say, right up the front. Do you support or you don't support this? And the reasons of saying, or I like part 1 versus part 2, that really helps us be able to read it a lot quicker instead of having to find, okay, they didn't even say if they support it or not. And sometimes it's very difficult to read, their testimony if they are supportive or not supportive. So those are really good pointers that you're providing.
And
for
I've
them.
heard legislators stop testifiers before. And one time this gentleman said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you've been talking for 5 minutes and I can't tell if you like the bill or not. Do you like the bill?" And I
Yes.
said, "Let them know if you like the bill."
Yeah. So you do have an office here at the Capitol. Can average citizen walk into the office and say, "Can you help me?"
Absolutely. Yes, year round.
Yeah, so they can, if they physically want to come down here and they're kind of confused, where's the hearing room, where's my legislator's office, and you can help them with those directions also.
Absolutely. And we do have all the phone numbers of all the legislators, and we're right there. Just we specialize in the average human being. Yeah.
So basically, we have a legislative website, which has all the different measures on there, where things are at, and it stays up there for the whole year. It has ways to contact the chairs. It has ways of submitting testimony for the particular hearings. And then you have your public access, website
Right.
for the public's activity here too, right?
Yes. And so we have additional material on our website that's not on the legislature's website, some of the more obscure perhaps, and just some helpful hints. Here's a good outline for submitting testimony. What you would like your testimony to have in it, make sure to include, like your name and contact information and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So you were saying that you do public outreach out into communities. Now, what if I can't get to one of your meetings out? Do you have something on the website where I can, tutorials or anything?
It's a great question. We do. On the Public Access Room's website, which hawaii.gov/LRB, we're part of the Nonpartisan Legislative Reference Bureau /PAR. So hawaii.gov/LRB/PAR. And on there's a drop-down menu for workshops. And our entire PowerPoint presentation is on there as a video, as a PowerPoint, as a PDF. And so we try to make sure that whatever avenue is most comfortable for people, we have provided something in that avenue. And in turn, the legislature's website a couple of years ago was deemed to be the best legislative website in the nation.
Wow.
It's a very impressive site, and there's a lot of material in there. And it can be a little dismaying if you're not familiar with that site and you go, oh my goodness,
Yes.
where do I go? And so you just call us and we will walk you through it.
Yeah, when you got here, we're going to talk about this, and like, no, let's not talk about all that, because it is a very extensive website, our legislative website. It is, and first time people walking through it, or maybe even the 10th time you're walking through it, it could be very overwhelming because there is so much information. I think
I still learn brand new stuff every day from that site. It's a remarkable
because I mean
website.
it archives things, so you can archive stuff all the way back to maybe 2005. It has your current stuff on there. It has measures currently being heard. I mean, it has a lot of information.
And
on
everything that we broadcast about 350 hours a year of
Okay.
hearings, briefings, and floor sessions, and all of those are archived on the legislature's website as well. From the Senate, I believe from January 2009, and the House since January 2011.
it. Wow.
So if you want to watch a finance committee meeting like 30 dozen times, you're welcome to.
So you're saying, say last year there was a particular measure that I was interested in, and it never got passed or finalized. I can go back and probably look at if it was filmed.
If it were broadcast, it's still available there. And then in addition to that, just the actual information, our legislature's website goes back to 1999.
Wow.
So it's getting to have some really significant history there.
So I mean, we could, if you want to, if the hearing was filmed, then you could probably go watch it on some of the archive stuff
You
and
sure
catch
could.
some things up there, or it's all the paper stuff is archived on there.
Yes,
correct?
yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty extensive.
Hawaii, we all know that there's a lot wrong with government. Everybody knows this. But what's often missing in people's perspectives is what's right with government. And people, our office is almost 24 years old. That's a wonderful resource for the public. Hawaii is the first state in the nation to have an ethics commission.
Wow.
And there are things that we don't know about our own governance that I think it would really benefit people to have a little information about.
I mean, it is a really help for, we have constituents all the time that call us and say what happened to this particular measure, and we'll help them out. We'll find out where it is, where it's at, or it has to be reintroduced. And it's because they kind of stumble. They don't know we have all this public access for people to engage with our process.
Well, in addition to, I've been an office manager and I've been a committee clerk, and I know how much work goes on inside a legislator's office. And you may not have time. And as helpful as your staff and you are, you may just be overwhelmed, and you need, if somebody has really detailed questions, you can send them to us, and we can walk them through the entire thing. That's what we do.
So they can actually call you. They can go onto your website. They can go onto the legislative website, or they can actually physically walk into your office.
Absolutely.
And you're there to help them. And what you're saying is we're not partisan.
Absolutely.
Your
we
office
have
is
no
not.
opinions.
You have no opinions even on the measures, right?
Absolutely
We have
not.
no opinion. We're
No.
just here to say how you can provide your information or input on the particular bill.
You have an opinion. You're an important person. You are the authority in your life, and you want that opinion to be part of the mix in the decision-making process, and we can help you get that information conveyed more effectively. During at least the first half of the legislature, we will be doing 2 workshops a week in our office. We usually do one at noon and another at 5:30 for people that can't get away at noon. We don't have our schedule figured out yet.
Okay.
But that is something, it's just walk in. No need to register, no need to do
so-
anything but be there.
So that basically they can call your office and say, I understand you do some, when are they going to be? And they don't have to register, but they just have to know when it's going to
They
be.
have to
so
know
they can
when it
watch.
is. And we need to know pretty soon ourselves. So we're working on that. We're working on our first newsletter.
Well, that's good,
right now.
So I mean, that helps even the general public to come in and even, like little classes to learn how they can participate even more. Wow, that's pretty exciting.
An informed citizen is a powerful citizen.
Oh yeah. I've seen individuals that have come, petrified, but they testify, and then once they get done with that, they feel like, wow,
Look what I just did.
look what I did.
It's so
I'm part of this.
satisfying
It
to
is.
see that.
It's really.
Years and years and years ago, I taught a workshop one evening, and there was a woman who was in the class just because she was required to be by, colleges will send students to us. You have to go and do this. And at the end of this evening, she had been really disinterested for a lot of the time. And at the end of it, her face lit up, and she said, "I had no idea I had so much power."
Wow.
And I've really reveled in that one simple sentence ever since. And that was, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, because I do. I still meet people, and they're like, "Well, we can't go there. We don't know how." And I'm like, "Sure, you can. You have every right. You have every right to participate." And
your input is needed.
That's right.
We need your input.
yeah. And to me, I always tell everybody, if you like the measure or don't like the measure, the more thoughts we put on the table, I might not see it that angle. I might not see it the way you see it, but it allows us to see it in different eyes. And sometimes when we see these measures that really affect the individuals, or they tell us their personal stories, it really makes a difference.
I say frequently that we have a representative democracy, and when citizens cease to participate,
That's right.
it will cease to be a democracy. And this is such an important, wonderful system we have.
Yeah, and I think
I believe in it.
us allowing them to have that power to say, "Well, I can participate. I can come. I can ask for a measure to be heard. I can be at the hearing, or I can send you my testimony, or I can call up that particular legislator and express my opinions."
There's a lot of power in that.
There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
There's really a lot of power in that. I'm glad. I'm glad that our state took that initiative, 20-odd years
We're
ago.
miles ahead of so many states that way. There are other states that have portions of what we have, but there is no other state, to our knowledge, that has the complete spectrum of resources for the common citizen that Hawaii has. And I'm
I mean,
really
even
grateful for that.
even once the hearing is completed. I mean, you can go in there and you can pull up everybody else's testimony. You can review it. It's all online. You can print it up. You can, I mean, it's public. It is all
They really
public.
mean it when they say public.
It is
really
transparent and it is public. So if you wrote something in, you submitted it to the hearing, it will be on public line.
It
I
will.
think
I
after the hearing.
I do tell people, if you've got sensitive information, nobody's going to go through and say, "Gosh, I wonder if she wants her home phone number in there."
Yeah.
So don't put anything in there that you don't want the whole wide world to see, because it's there.
Yeah, that's true. So if you submit it through email testimony, and if you have personal information on there, it will, because it's public. We got it verbatim, and we put it out there as we got it. We don't alter it in any way, shape, or form.
There is no going through and redacting anything.
That's right.
Yeah, there's power in that too.
Yeah, and I think it's really, since I've gotten here, I only saw your presentation several years ago, and now it's like, it's more powerful when you come here and they're able to get on the computers, they're able to ask you in person, or they can call you on the phone, or I still get lost in this building, so I'm sure even with people coming in and saying, "Well, where's this hearing room? I don't understand how do I get there?" I mean, that's a great asset for us to have.
It is. And our office, we have 2 year-round full-time people.
Oh.
And then during the legislative session, we hire 2 additional people. And so
I'm sure it gets overwhelming.
It gets lively. It does get lively. For sure.
So I'm sure, like, say somebody comes here and arrives early for a hearing, and they decide to stop by, they can kind of hang over there and watch the hearings on, the TV that you set out there, and until they're ready to get into their hearing, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and then also we are completely ADA compliant.
Wow.
And we bring the Disability and Communication Access Board staff in every year. Is there anything additionally that we could do to help people who might have some sort of a handicap? So we have 5 public computers, a couple tables, and we have 1 workstation that is ADA compliant to the specifications for a wheelchair.
Wow.
We have a TTY telephone for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, And we have, one of our computers has software on it that will read websites to blind people, people visually impaired.
Wow.
So we mean it when we say we try to serve everybody.
Serve everybody.
We too. Yeah.
This is great information. I truly appreciate it. You know, we have to remind everybody out there, this is not a closed process here in the building.
No, it is not.
It is very open. Contrary to what some people might think, it is very open, and your office is one of those. The public access room is truly there to provide access to anybody and everybody and help them get whatever information they want to those particular hearings or measures, or contact the individual they need to speak to, right?
I have the best job in the building.
Yes, you do.
I do. And you know, the best part about my job, I think you may have heard me say this before, I am prohibited from holding signs during campaign season. I may not. It's like, oh, too bad. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Suzanne.
It's my pleasure to be here.
This
Thank
is
you so
really
much.
good.
Yeah.
Hopefully out in TV, Olelo land, everybody will begin to understand we do have a public access room, and we're here for the public.
And we're going to fix the world.
Yes, we are, someday.
Take us more than a week, but we are on the case.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody out there in Olelo. See you on our next show. Aloha.
That was fun.